Donald Trump has started up his deportation flights, and right off the bat, there are problems. Media reported that a flight to Mexico was not allowed to release the migrants on arrival once it reached Mexico. Now, this was something denied by the White House, so let's put that aside for a moment. Let's say this actually worked. Let's talk money. One of these flights has roughly 80 migrants on it. So how much money does it take for that single deportation flight? Well, under Joe Biden, the Department of Homeland Security would charter a flight for about $8,577. Now, I saw complaints, why are we chartering flights when we have military aircraft? And that just happens to be what Trump is using. So using U.S. military flights, that same flight costs about $852,000. So instead of $107 for a deportation flight per migrant, it goes up to $10,650 per migrant. It would literally be cheaper to let them stay. Now, that is, of course, if that flight to Mexico was even accepted, because if it wasn't, it was a complete waste of money. But the White House denied it was refused, and then there's a problem, right? Because another country denied these flights, Colombia. And there's no question about it, and the president of Colombia became very vocal. We're going to look at what he said on social media, and then we're going to look at what Trump said, and we're going to talk about how it's going to affect your pockets. There are 15,660 Americans living in Colombia illegally. They should contact our immigration service to regularize their situation. I hope the dialogue on Darien does not freeze. There is no regularization. Illegal activities will increase. We already saw this when the U.S. blockaded Venezuela and caused the wave of migration. First, it is the dignity of Colombia and Latin America. Migrants are human beings and subjects of rights and should be treated as such. We also had this update from the president that said, "They have never had dignity. Let us experience it. 1 million Latin Americans have been killed by the prohibition against cocaine and marijuana, while wine, whiskey, tobacco, which kill more, are legal." As the president of CELAC this year, I believe that I asked the current president of CELAC, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that name because I'd butcher it, to convene an extraordinary assembly of Latin American presidents to examine the problems of migration and the new configuration of the drug market in America. If they don't want us in the North, the South must unite. We also have American citizens who wish to do so can be in Colombia. I believe in human freedom. But more than 15,666, I assuming some went and got it figured out, are legal immigrants, and under Colombian law, they must regularize their stay. You will never see me burning a U.S. flag or carrying out a raid to return handcuffed illegal immigrants to the U.S. True libertarians will never attack human freedom. We are the opposite of the Nazis. That probably hurt Elon, especially. The U.S. cannot treat Colombian migrants as criminals. I deny the entry of American planes carrying Colombian migrants into our territory. The United States must establish a protocol for the dignified treatment of migrants before we receive them. So, with all of those responses, how did Donald Trump respond to being told no? Sorry, it's about to flashbang you, because it's white. I was just informed that 2 repatriation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals, and by the way, I believe in this instance, illegal criminals is him saying instead of illegal migrants. I don't believe they're actually have committed a crime other than being illegally in the United States. We're not allowed to land in Colombia. At least they don't list off any other crimes. There could have been some mixed in. Just saying, because he's gonna word it the way Trump's gonna word it, right? This order was given by Colombia's socialist president, Gustavo Petro, who was already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States, so I have directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. Emergency 25% tariffs on all goods coming into the United States. In 1 week, the 25% tariffs will be raised to 50%. So, what goods might that affect that you're going to be possibly buying? This is a significant chunk of the coffee market. And you might say, well, I don't drink Colombian coffee. That doesn't matter. Do you think a lot of coffee drinkers are suddenly going to stop drinking coffee, or are they going to switch to another brand, lowering the supply and raising the demand? Your stores might have a little issue getting coffee in. It gets more expensive. People are buying what's left, and you might start seeing shelves as empty as you're seeing for things like eggs. I don't know about you. Personally, I went and had to go to the store, and I also bought a new computer, which I mentioned I would do. And while out shopping, I went to go buy some eggs. And what I found is they were extremely overpriced and sold out. There was even limits now on bacon. I'm not sure if that's related to bird flu or not, but there were limits on bacon. Now, it's not just that, because Valentine's Day is fast approaching. Well, what does Valentine's Day have to do with any of this? A significant portion of Valentine's Day flowers come from Colombia, and they're going to be shipping out closer to Valentine's Day so they stay fresh. This is a massive increase in Valentine's Day flowers. Now, Donald Trump could have easily made a threat and timed it a little bit down the line, see if Colombia could comply, see if they'd come up to an agreement, and then the American people wouldn't have suffered if an agreement was come to. Instead, he's strong-arming like this, which is a good way to make people stand their ground, and it immediately affects Americans, and it will get worse in 1 week. So bravo there. Let's continue. A travel ban and immediate visa revocations on the Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters. So he's targeting the government of Colombia. Again, not a great way to make them want to follow your demands. It's a great way to actually get foreign nations to build up against you and join forces. But, you know, he doesn't care about that. Visa sanction on all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government. So he's now going to punish party members, family members, and supporters of the government. So he's just going hog wild there, right? Enhanced customs and border protection inspections of all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds. So the Colombians that do come are going to be harassed more, and their goods are going to be delayed at customs. So that coffee, those flowers, anything else that's coming from Colombia, if it takes longer to get to you, it can cause more delays, which cause the price to go up. The flowers, what if they take so long? The flowers don't make it to market, or they die along the way, and then that raises prices more. Yeah, it's going to be a thing. IEEPA Treasury, Banking, and Financial Sanction to be fully imposed. These measures are just the beginning, so he's going to do even more. We will not allow the Colombian government to violate its legal obligations with regard to the acceptance and return of the criminals they force onto the United States. The thing is, Trump has set this up so very well for other nations to join up to defend themselves essentially against U.S. sanctions and U.S. actions. I mean, think about it. We've got Mexico, he's made mad. We've got Panama, and we've got Colombia already. So far. Very short amount of time. Meanwhile, Trump's praising that this is like a golden 100 hours or something. Wild. Wild how he's just causing so much strife and problems and costing way too much money. What happened to Doge, right? Well, they just don't want to charter the cheaper flights because they criticized Joe Biden for doing it, even though it was the correct way to handle it. So with all that being said, this is my first video produced with the new computer because I could do it with what I already had installed, basically. Let me know if the audio's good, if anything's messed up. What really forced my hand was when I did the video on I was going to do a video on the convoy and how no one showed up before I bought the new computer. And what happened was I literally kept having like corruptions. And when I finally did work, I tried to like render a random video to test, and it was like failing. And I'm assuming there's just my GPU's probably like giving out. So I finally got a recording that worked, and I put it out. I don't know. It could have been something else causing issues. Maybe a restart would have fixed it. But the computer was already incredibly old. The GPU was from 2016. So I'm going to have to do it sooner rather than later. And I'm going to be honest, I was worried about possible tariffs. If tariffs raise the price of goods 25% and I need to make a significant purchase and it affects that good, that's a problem. There's been a big push now for crypto again. Last time I bought a computer was around a big crypto push. It made it harder to buy parts, made it harder to buy computers, and I'm just worried that I was going to end up in a scenario where I was priced out of something that would last me multiple years, and I was going to be stuck with something that I can only use in the short term, and I didn't want that. I like to have something solid I can trust, that's reliable, and that's what I was able to get a hold of. So with that being said, I've transferred a bunch of stuff to this computer. Not everything. It's going to take me a bit to get everything up and running. I still need to do some things. Like I really need to get a hold of like an external hard drive. I think that's what I want to do, and save my recordings to an external. I think that might just be a better way than having them internal at all. So that's like on my purchase list and a few other things before I get super digging in. Yeah, hopefully this video explains what's going on. Let you know you might see some higher prices around Valentine's Day while your morning coffee might be going up. It's 50% increase is not something small. 25% increase is not something small.